Okay, let's get started. Good afternoon, everyone. A warm welcome to this webinar on how to effortlessly locate sensitive data and deal with it in a GDPR context. Who should have thought we would talk about this still, but it is even more so important to do that today. And in the meantime, we are pleased to have some solutions that can also make our life easier in being compliant and respect our data interest to our clients. A few house rules to start with. This event will be recorded and we will be sharing it publicly afterwards. So if you're not too keen to be publicly visible, do turn off your camera. You should be welcome to keep it on as well, though. We will be taking questions. If you have any urgent during the session, please add them to the chat. At the end, we will have the opportunity for you to raise the hand on the Teams here, and we can maybe ask you to unmute yourself and ask a question that way, alternatively via the chat. Setting the scene here, as mentioned, we all have data on our computers, on our mobiles. And if you are one plus amount of employees in the company, you will unwarily be collecting a lot of data, date of births, emails, contacts, pictures, images of all sorts that you need to respect and consider how to deal with. And we are lucky enough to have technology that today can help to make it a lot more effortless to deal with. And in this community of the Danish UK Association, we do have members who are dealing with this on a day-to-day basis. And therefore, in a joint effort, we always do things. We have gathered the experts who can help us to do that. And I will here then recommend you, Kim, to turn on to the next slide so we can move on. We will be going through how that is possible. We have the expertise from Safe Online, who has developed a system to deal with the matter. And at the same time, we're pleased to say we have Sten Rosenfeldt from EBL, Villa Rosenfeldt there as well, who not only is a case story for using the technology, but of course also have the authority and knowledge on how to deal with GDPR in the first place. So with that, we're going to be spending about an hour together. Ask your questions, make sure you put them through the chat. I will try to moderate them. And with that, I would like to introduce you to Kim Andersen, who has been dealing with technology for many years. He's even had a period in the UK for about 10, 11 years, spending in Manchester. So he has his full right to be in the room and present how this is possible in a good way. And with that, Kim, can I ask you to take the lead from here, and I'll sit back and help with the questions.
Yeah, thank you very much, Gunnar, for the kind introduction. Yeah, my name is Kim, and I'll be going through the presentation today. And after the presentation, I'll show you quickly how our tool DataMapper works. It's extremely simple. It's very, very easy to use. And yeah, if you can write an email, then you can use our system. Well, let me start by just giving you a little bit of an introduction to these 3 points here: efficient strategies for data cleanup, a little bit of risk mitigation, and best practices. Now, we'll be exploring really efficient strategies for data cleanup and risk mitigation. I will dwell a little bit into best practices for identifying and managing sensitive data. The challenge today, as we all know, is in the digital landscape that exists, is that data is at the heart of most successful companies. And how do we deal with all of that can be a really, really daunting task. How do we do it? And how do we structure it? And also there is, of course, the regulatory compliance issues in relation to it. So if you don't have any sort of proper plan in place, it can really sort of have a negative effect on your data ecosystem within your company, but certainly also in relation to compliance. Our first sort of focus area here will be an efficient data cleanup. How do you do that? I'll show you a few options of how you can proceed with that. And also show you how you can have a structured data set up ready for you, and you can act on that either by swiftly deleting or storing the files where it needs to be stored. This system that I'm going to show you is primarily based on Microsoft. We do use Google as well if you have Google systems, but it's primarily focused on Microsoft, as in Outlook, SharePoint, OneDrive, and we also have obviously local drives and network drives that we can have a look at, but just so you know. Best practices for identifying and managing sensitive data requires a lot of attention and a lot of special attention. And it is, for a lot of companies, a really difficult task. It has a lot of anxiety involved with in terms of how to approach it. What do we do? And most companies nowadays need some help to basically make sure that everything is fully compliant. Now, when I show you this system, a lot of questions will arise, and a lot of questions that you might already have should be answered automatically. But let me just touch a little bit about the whole compliance issue about cleaning it up, because there are obviously a few options available in terms of it. One is you can stick your head in the sand and pretend that everything's going to be okay. It's not a recommendation that we normally go by, but there are some companies that choose to do that. Or you can try and clean it up manually. Now, our focus is primarily emails, OneDrive, SharePoint. And if you start going into the thinking behind our system and how it works and versus a manual task, these are numbers from Denmark, and I'm pretty sure that they'll be more or less the same in the UK. If you have an employee who have been employed for, say, typically 4 years, that person will on average have 25,000 emails stored in the system. Now, on average, 7% of those emails contain GDPR information. So obviously that is a task that is okay if you have maybe 1 or 2 employees. But once you start having 10, 20, 100 or 1,000 or thereof, it becomes a task that is extremely difficult to solve without the use of technology. We have some calculations in terms of what it would actually cost to go and do these things manually versus automated, and that is a bit of an eye-opener, but we can get to that at a later point. Another option, instead of sticking your head in the sand or doing it manually, is obviously using DataMapper. And a lot of companies already do that. We have recently launched in the UK, but we have lots of different companies that ranges from legal firm, investment companies, accountants, lawyers, etc., energy companies, insurance companies that use us. And they do that for obviously pure compliance reasons, but also because it is extremely easy to use. So what I'll do now is I'll just quickly show you how the system briefly works. Right now, you should be, if technology allows, see a sign-in page to DataMapper. If not, then we have technical problems. But if someone could say that's fine, that'll be great.
It looks good, Kim.
Cool. Right. This is how it works, right? Now, this is a plug-and-play solution, as in it's like installing an app. We don't have need for any expensive consultancy hours. We do not have to go out and install all sorts of devices on your existing systems. This is basically how it is. We will send an invite from our admin to yours. And this is what it would look like. All the users that uses the system do not have to come up with any new login details, passwords, or anything like that. It automatically synchronizes with the Microsoft solution that you've already got. Now it's just waking up, I suppose. Why does these things always happen? I'm sorry, guys. Right. Now, so here we go. This is what it looks like when you enter the system. You can choose to scan the locations, that is your Outlook accounts, your OneDrive, your SharePoint, or your local drives. Now, if you're an administrator of the system, then the really cool thing about it is that you can go in and you can keep an eye on the whole organization from your dashboard. And I'll get into a little bit more about the details of what it actually finds in a minute. But just to give you a brief overlook of what it looks like. You can look at your users here. You can see what sort of information they have available in their systems, and you can see what type of information it is. The actual information, so let's say it is a document with a P60 in it, or a document with an employment contract in it, you can only see what type of document it is. The actual document itself is the user itself that can see that, if that makes sense. And this is what it looks like. Let's imagine we have now scanned an employee's account with Microsoft. And this is what the result brings up. This is what you will be able to see. So as an example, you'll get an overlook here and you're saying, right, okay, well, this document here, HM Customs, what is that? You'll be able to see what it is, how many duplicates it's got, what sort of category it's in. But the actual document, what we'd like to show you is, okay, we found a name here, we found a risk keyword. We would like to see what this document actually is. So we can go into the preview function and have a look at it. And in this particular case, this is a document from HM Revenue and Customs with some sensitive information on it. So in this particular case, you might ask yourself, what should we do with this document, this piece of information? You can either go to the document and store it in the way that it's supposed to be stored. This could be wherever you might have these documents stored, or you can go into and delete the actual document itself. Now, just a word of caution here on the actual deletion, because once you delete it, it's gone. Now, that means this system here scans every 24 hours. It updates every 24 hours. So when you delete the document today, it is gone tomorrow. However, having said that, if you need, like, shall we call it a handbrake on the system that allows you to restore deleted information, then there is, and your IT department will know a lot more about that, there is a facility within Microsoft that allows you to save files for up to 30 days as a precaution. Now, that is something your IT department will know all about. But if that's not set up, once it's gone, it's gone. If we have a look at, say, another example, say, let's have a look at this one, for example. What is that? This is a Danish document. So let's see what that is. It's found a Danish CPR number, which is equivalent to a British national insurance number. And here we go. Let's have a look and see what we have found here. Right. On this particular piece of information, this is a handwritten note, and here it's found a Danish CPR number. It's also found some banking information. This is a picture scan, so it'll scan for pictures, it'll scan for text, for numbers in all the different formats, as in JPEGs, PDF, Excel, Word, etc. So it'll find all the information that is needed. If we have a look at, say, another example, see here, let's just close that. Here again, this is let's have a look, see what is found. This is a driving license, and it'll find that information in both Danish and in English. So if it's a British license, it'll find that. And that is basically how the system works. It's really as simple as that. Every person that scans their systems will have a list. The list will be made available. The administrator will always be able to see from the dashboard what information is available in the not available, that's not the right word, but is in their inboxes or in the local drives or the SharePoint, able to see what it is. But the actual individual will only be able to see the actual document itself. So as an administrator, you'll see, okay, this person have got an employment contract with a national insurance number on it. There might be some tax reference codes or anything like that. But the actual document is only available to view from the person where the scan is taking place from. Now, just to give you a little bit of idea about how the system is built in terms of the searches, it's built up, it's got about 1,500 different keywords and search phrases built into it. So that means that it'll find anything you can possibly imagine that is UK GDPR related. And that has anything from your national insurance number, your passport number, bank details, and all those kind of things it'll find for you. If you have a need as a company for something that is specific to your needs, we, for example, are dealing with pharmaceutical companies that have got very specific requirement in terms of medical expressions, etc. And so it's just to give you an example that if there is a need for something that you may not find in the system, it's made available to you, that you can build it in yourself, or you can ask us to do it for you. And therefore it'll find that information for you. Once we start to onboard clients, and that's done on on different sort of levels in terms of how busy a company is. We have a department here in Copenhagen that will help onboard and make sure that that everything is taking place as it should, and that people are getting properly shown how the system works. And we usually start with 1 or 2 people within the company, maybe 3 or 4, and then slowly roll it out to the rest of the staff. Depending on the type of company you have, then what we do typically is, if you are, as an example, a fish manufacturer with a large factory somewhere, and you have 300 people working on the floors packing fish all day, they will most likely not be the ones to use the system. So it's built on a number basis. So what I mean by that is that it's based on users, and it can obviously be tailor-made to any size organization, from 0 up to thousands of users, depending on the needs of what your needs really are. But that is that's really how the the system works. It's very, very simple. As I said, it's a plug-and-play solution, no installments. Everyone can use it, and it finds all the information that is needed. So you can get on with your real job.
We had a question. I think Caroline, she may have answered it in the meantime, but let's just bring it up in the forum. Can you redact info for us sharing the document without showing personal data? Laurie is asking. Can you or Caroline maybe expand a little bit on that? You could see it in the chat.
I can't see the chat, so maybe
Okay.
Sebastian or Caroline can help with that, please.
Yeah, I can help with that.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me, Kim?
Yeah.
Perfect. No, currently we are not doing a redaction. However, we have been looking into the feature as it's been requested by quite a few of our customers. So it is on the roadmap, and it's very closely related to what we're doing. And we already have a way that we want to solve this issue. But currently, no, we are not delivering that out of the box. But it will for sure come.
Is
there any more specific anything else you want me to answer on this, or?
Sorry, Amanda, we can maybe come back to you later. If you have a response now, please unmute yourself. If not, we'll come back later.
Yeah, okay. So that was just to give you a sort of a quick demo of how the system works. And now I would very much like you to hand you over to Sten, who is actually a very, very good client of ours, and who can talk a little bit about his experience with it. So over to you, Sten.
Thank you, Kim, and thank you, Gunnar, as well. And thank God I'm just looking at my picture and I still look more or less the same. So that's great, actually. I sit here with two roles, and one is as head of our commercial team, where we advise on most aspects of data protection from a legal perspective. But I'm also sitting here wearing our data protection officer hat, or also it's named as a DPO hat. And I think it's probably my role as DPO, which is the most relevant here today. As DPO, I have a role to perform internally in our organization. And if you look at the Information Commissioner's website, you will find a comprehensive definition of some of the tasks that a DPO should be performing. But in broad terms, I see my role as directing and overseeing all data protection and information management activities. And also see my role as providing subject matter expertise on the proper handling of personal information. So this is exactly what Safe Online and DataMapper, they've been put into the world to assist me with, I guess. Naturally, as lawyers, we have put in comprehensive policies dealing with data protection internally. But the job doesn't stop there. We actually also have to monitor the information, and in particular, the information of sensitive character we hold internally. And that is the difficult task here, because as we saw from Kim's presentation, this information may sit in your inbox, it may sit on individuals' desktops, it may sit in SharePoint or other designated drives. And as a DPO, it's difficult to get an overview of where and what we hold, basically, where we hold the information. So what we did is was to, once we got to know DataMapper, we actually agreed to use the system here to help me perform my duties. And what I've heard internally is that first of all, the onboarding of DataMapper was straightforward, and Caroline has been a great help dealing with our internal IT support team. So that was great and straightforward. and also using the actual app or plugin, as we saw from Kim. It's actually easier than what Kim showed, because if you we don't have a delay here basically. But it's straightforward, and I can hand on heart also say that I've used it internally. I've cleared out my 77 high risk matters from my inbox, stuff I didn't know I had or had forgotten I had, etc. And that can at least, I don't get sleepless nights necessarily, but it does help me perform my job, that we are in a position to actually monitor the sensitive information, because otherwise we could be faced with fines. The most obvious one is, of course, there's a data subject access request, and we have to look after our information on the system, and that takes time. So there is a time saving on that, but there's also a risk management perspective to this, and that is that if we breach any data protection policies, we risk getting a fine. Probably, unless it's serious, it could be a rap over your fingers, but we also have sort of like, I guess, a reputational risk if we do not adhere to data protection policies, and that's what I'm most worried about, actually, I must admit. But so far, so good. We are about a month into our trial. Still internally, I have to whip my colleagues, because, of course, they don't focus on information, they focus on fear and etc. But I'm sure we will get in shipshape pretty soon, thanks to DataMapper. If there anybody who's got questions, I'm happy to ask, or not ask them, because I will probably answer them later if it relates to the onboarding process, etc. But back to you, Gunnar.
I thought there was some really good points you had there with both your hats on. A question I had here immediately now is this a job you can hand out to your colleagues to handle the DataMapper, or is it meant for the data officer to deal with the matter?
No. Internally, Simona, who's our office manager, she has dealt with the team in Copenhagen, and Caroline has visited here in London as well to help with the onboarding process. So that's straightforward. And I'm sure that if you go online, either LinkedIn, that there is a lovely little piece there as well, where Simona, she actually says how much she loves DataMapper. So that's pretty good, actually. But it's been straightforward so far, and I haven't been involved, apart from getting the welcoming email and clicking through and start scanning my documents. So it's pretty straightforward.
And now we're at the time where I'll encourage everyone who has a question, no matter how silly you think it is or inquisitive it is, relating to the matter here, please put it in the chat, or if you prefer, raise the hand on Teams, and we can ask you to unmute yourself and ask it that way, maybe a bit simpler. So in terms of the system, Kim, is there does it understand the exposure to the individual industry? What is your requirement to keep some data, and what are the requirements not to keep data? Is it guided somehow, or are you still need to have Stein or a colleague from this industry to help you?
That's a good question. No, the system is built up on anything that is GDPR related and is updated on an ongoing basis. It has a vast data bank of information. It works a little bit like a search engine, if that makes any sense. And it'll find all the information that is GDPR related in a person's files or emails, and that is it. And that knowledge bank can be expanded in terms of needs and requests. But it's bang up to date, and it's obviously updated on an ongoing basis. And GDPR information is GDPR information, and it doesn't matter really in terms of whether you are an insurance company or you are a lawyer. It is the same type of information it searches for, and it gives you that overlook that you need. But the interesting point here, and then this is sort of sort of closing of the presentation is that, and this is something that we've taken from feedback from a lot of our Danish clients, because obviously buying a system like DataMapper does cost, it does cost some money, but we'll get to that at a later point. But what are the risks that a company actually has today? What have we got lying, floating about in our systems? Is there any chance that we could get a little bit of knowledge about that? So it sort of gives a company an overview of the risk factors that is present in the systems. So we created a product, and that is a product that is free for the ones who attend the webinar today. What it does, it gives you a full risk analysis scan of your company's emails. What that means is it scans a company's emails across all users. That can be, from an example, let's say you start the scan up on the 1st of December. So it scans from that day, and then it goes back in time till the email was opened up. And that can be obviously for new employees that might not have been with the company so long, or for older member of staff who have been there much longer time. What it'll give you and how it works exactly the same as I've shown you. You can sit as an administrator, you can say and you can follow the data. No staff needs to be involved in this. It can be done very quietly in the background. After 1 or 2 days, Caroline, as Sten so really nicely mentioned earlier, we'll have a Teams meeting with you again, just to see what kind of data have we found so far, invite 1 or 2 users in to get familiarized with the system. Then when the scan is finished, and that depends a little bit on the amount of data. If you have 500 megabytes or you have 1.5 terabyte, that obviously has a little role to play in the time. But let's say a week or 2. Once that is done, you'll get a complete audit report of everything that has been found, very in detailed look of what is the information that is floating about your systems. And from there, you will have a very, very good piece of information to go forward and say, right, is this actually something we need to invest in or not? Because you can have a situation where, let's just say for argument's sake, that we scan, say, 10 million files. And we find that amongst 5 users, let's say we find about, as of 50 GDPR-related issues overall. That's it. And you might think to yourself, well, that's fine. We don't really need anything anymore. We can do this manually, or, it can also be that we don't find anything. That'll be a first, but it is an option. Or it can be that if you have hundreds of employees, that you have thousands and thousands of GDPR data points scattered all over your emails. And then obviously, at least you have a report that backs up all of that. And then we can have a sort of more in-depth discussion about where do we go from here.
We have a question from Annalisa. I think we should give her a chance to raise as well. Is that okay to do that now?
Yes.
Yeah, Annalisa, do you want to unmute yourself and let's hear?
I'm really sorry to interrupt. I missed the first few minutes, but I was wondering if a company has a large data of a large amount of sensitive data in their emails, and is your program working only as a surveillance of what was in those emails, or can it be used also to encrypt those data in the past, so that the risk of sharing sensitive information is reduced?
Sebastian, you want to touch on that? Because I'm not quite sure I fully understand that question.
Yeah, I'll be happy to help here.
If
I understood... Oh, can you hear me?
We can.
Good. So if I understood correctly here, is that if you have an email with a large amount of data, if our solution also when scanning this data here can go in and encrypt the specific pieces of data from the past that contains a sensitive information. And this is actually we're running a project. We're running a project similar to what you're referring to here now, with a client that has data that is more than 13 years old. And what we're doing here, we are going in and we are detecting all the sensitive information. Then we're using a third-party Microsoft service that will then ensure that we then trigger a workflow that encrypts all the pieces of data. So basically, they want different things happening to them. So data with sensitive information, financial sensitive information, should be moved to another container and encrypted there. Some other pieces of data should be deleted. So yeah, with this workflow engine combined with ours, we can encrypt larger amounts of data from the past. Yeah.
Now, Lisa, does that help with your answer, or do you need more?
Oh, no, I'm fully satisfied. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please keep the questions coming. So Kim, on the amount of data you can scan here, you said was it 1 terabyte or something like that? To the people of us who have no idea what that is, what are we talking about? Is that a big company? Are we talking a city council? Or are we talking a small association office?
It's a good question. That depends on what's actually in the files, because that can be all sorts of different things. It can be videos and text and what have you. But we can scan any size. We have sort of a rule of thumb when we do the free analysis scans, is that we go up to around 1.5 terabytes of free scanning, and that's typically anything from 50 to 100 users. Once we start going up to the thousands, we need to have a little bit of a conversation about, obviously, both cost and that sort of thing. But on say 50 to 100 users, we'll gladly do that for free and do a full audit on that.
But I suspect whether you are a big company of 200,000 employees or 2 employees, you'd still be happy to have a discussion with them.
Absolutely.
Before you start to charge anything.
Absolutely. The first step is dialogue and understanding how our system works, and we'll show you. And if you need a personal demo from myself or any other people at the company here, then do feel free. Do reach out if you're interested to hear more about the scan. It's certainly it's a great little Christmas gift, let's put it that way, because it just takes away all the unnecessary worries about, oh, I think we're doing okay, and I hope we're doing okay, and fingers crossed, and all the rest of it. But this is just this takes away all the doubts and present the real situation of what a situation a company is actually in, and it's very, very thorough. So do reach out to me as soon as you can, and we can take it from there.
And I'll, of course, be happy to help facilitate afterwards as well, as we always. We had a question more from Laurie and Amanda. What advantages does Safe Online have over other e-discovery providers who provide similar functionality?
Yeah, where should we start? I mean, I would say functionality is one of the main ones, because we don't have any need for any expensive consultancy hours to start with. It's a plug and play solution. It takes 10-15 minutes to set up, 30 minutes if there's a lot of questions. It gives you an overview of, let's say, let me answer it another way. Let's say, for example, that we start up with someone who's got 200 employees, as an example. We scan everything. All the time that we need to spend together, and this is done online, is typically for an hour and a half to 2 hours. That's it. That will give you a full overview of the situation you're in. In terms of functionality, this is so easy to use. I don't think you can actually, I've not seen anything that is simpler. And also, if you look behind the actual usage of it, when you're talking spending time on a system, but it's all great and good to have a system that sorts things out, but there's also getting back to your real job, which also requires a lot of time. Then on an average, our system takes up, this is based on 50 users. Again, it depends on the size, depends on what type of business you are, but on average, an administrator will use this for 30 to 45 minutes a month. That's it. An employee typically uses 5 to 10 minutes a month on this. That is after the cleanup process have started, because obviously that can take time, and that all depends on the amount of data that is subsequently floating about in a company's systems. I hope that answers the question.
If not, please come back, Laurie and Amanda. I have one in the meantime. You're based in Denmark, and maybe this is a question to Sten with your legal advisor hat on here. What are the implications of employing a company like Safe Online in a UK company to start to go in and search all the data you have on your computer? There's a GDPR element into that as well. Does that work? Can you do that? I guess you can.
I don't see any restrictions in terms of that. The point there is there's no data transfer at all. It is a scan of our system, so I suspect it is self-contained there, unless you tell me otherwise, Kim.
No, you're absolutely right.
So there shouldn't be any implications from that perspective, no.
Thank you very much.
Unless, of course, Kim, you are harvesting our data.
No, I don't really have anything to do with the scanning of the data and all that. We have a lot of experts behind us doing all that. But there is obviously some of our clients which have this solution, what we call on-prem. So it'll be installed within their own systems if that is what is required. That's primarily financial institutions and insurance companies, etc., that uses that solution. But we have a solution for most sizes, I would say.
Very good. I think there may be a question coming here. Yes, but if you want to unmute yourself, you're also allowed to say it that way, if that's easier.
No,
thank you, Gunnar. Yeah. I think you kind of read my mind there, because struggling here to write in chat boxes is maybe not my strongest competence. My question is, how efficient would you say the system is in other languages and in other jurisdictions than Denmark and the UK and other special cases?
Well, we have modules that you can purchase for different nationalities, different countries, and it works just the same in Denmark as it does in England and in the UK in general as it does in other countries. There are 2 countries that we do not have anything to do with in terms of language-wise, and that is Russia and China. But it works the same. It's just a matter of setting it up the way that is required. So I hope that answers your question.
Also. Okay, can I help with that question?
Right,
also?
thank you.
Kim, are you okay with me just helping with that question?
Please do, Sebastian.
First of all, it's simply because I love this question here. So we are working very closely with some AI experts, And we always strive to get something called an F1 score above 95%, meaning that 95% we always get the number and the information, the number correctly. And that's actually very, very good when you're talking about machine learning and AI, and we're always striving to do better. Currently, we are adding 4 new countries, and it's actually really easy for us. It takes around about 3 to 4 days to add a new country where we can find sensitive information from that country. So currently, we're adding the rest of the Scandinavian areas and Poland and Germany, and we also have some requests from other countries to come after that. Did that answer your question?
Yes, but
yes, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Of course.
For the people who haven't read the chat, Sebastian, he is one of the co-founders of Safe Online. Kim, maybe a question to you, and it could maybe be for Sebastian as well. This is a community. There are people who one is learning and understanding and could maybe use his system, but there's of course also a community of people here who have an outreach. What kind of relations are you looking for to expand your market, if any?
That's a good question, and that is actually it's actually a brilliant question, because here at Safe Online in Copenhagen, we have been asking ourselves that exactly same question: what is our ideal client? And so far, I must agree that we don't have an ideal client, because
Except from State, maybe.
Yeah. Well, of course, that there are your lawyers, your accountants, etc. They are, of course, the top. That kind of is self-explanatory. But in general terms, we have a lot of different types of companies. We have investment companies, we have energy companies, we have schools, universities, we have care homes, we have plumbing services, we have solicitors, banks, etc. So we have a very, very broad client base. So anyone really who deals with personal information is ideally a partner of us, because everyone can really use this. But obviously some companies have got more information than others. Of course, I would say that if you are a firm of solicitors versus if you make wooden chairs and sell them in Peru, then, of course, if you are a solicitor, then you will be more sort of relevant for us. But in general, we have clients from all walks of life and sizes. So I hope that answers the question, because it's a really good one.
Yeah. Okay. So with that, maybe also anyone, the contact details are on the screen there to reach out to Kim, or for that sake, Sten as well, when it comes to the nitty-gritty bits and pieces about staying compliant, because there's of course a legal aspect to consider. What does it take to be compliant, or maybe just understand it in the first place? As it evolves. I think we're getting to. Sorry, Kim, go ahead.
Yeah, a good place to start is definitely by, getting an analysis scan and finding out where are you actually as a company, because it is if you're going to find that out manually, we actually have some calculations if you're interested in that, to find out once the analysis scan is done, what it would actually cost, and they're extremely adequate and very, very bang on the money, for lack of a better sentence, in what it'll actually cost to do a manual cleanup versus using DataMapper. And the numbers are just mind-blowing in comparison. So, and for that sake, it typically becomes a non-starter for a lot. So again, it's a good place to start, find out where you're at, take the room and the temperature, and get a very, very detailed report of all the information that is available, and then act on that.
Maybe that's a question I briefly want to pick up on, the cost element, vis-a-vis maybe your first slide of sticking your head in the sand. Sten, what are the what is the stick here? If you're not compliant, what could be the scenario be?
We can always cry wolf, but the fines are up to 17.5 million pounds, or 4% of your global turnover, whichever is the higher. So the fines can be massive. Of course, that is for serious failures, and we haven't seen many in that category. But again, fines is one aspect of it. The other one is the impact on the organization internally. If you get it wrong and you have an inspection, for instance, and as I said also before, I think the reputational risk there is also important, that they can't look after the information we send to them. In our case, bank details, national insurance numbers, tax numbers, etc., etc. So it's a mix of all of them. I don't want to cry wolf here, because I think that's my personal opinion, that we are in some aspect maybe subject to too much compliance. Compliance burden is big, but right now it's a fact. The legislation is there, and if you can use a simple plugin as DataMapper to at least help you manage part of your data protection obligations, why not?
Yeah.
I think we're coming to an end there. We got a couple of minutes left. A minute from each of you, rounding up. Should we start with you, Sten? A final comment?
I think that was my final comment actually before, so I will leave it at that.
Okay, very good. Kim?
Yeah, just thank you very much to all of you for participating here, and do reach out to me. We're very friendly here in Copenhagen, and we'd love to help. So get my details down and write to me or call me, and we'll try to help you as best as we can.
Good. And maybe I can ask you to put the last slide on while I finish up here. Thank you very much to everyone who listened in. This session was recorded and it will be made publicly available tomorrow on our website, DK UK. A few events coming up here this week still of various kinds, but there's so much more going on. Our mission, of course, is to connect people and foster relations, whether it's personal, cultural, or business relations. Please do stay in touch and reach out to me. And with that, thank you very much, everyone. Kim, Sten, have a good evening, all, and
thank you very much, Gunnar.
See you again soon. Thank you.
See you.
Goodbye.
Thank you.